Behind those walls is the place where art meets science, and it's the place where our coral reefs become living masterpieces. Welcome to Coral Morphology. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating work of coral morphology, a groundbreaking team blending marine biology and digital art to showcase the beauty and resilience of our oceans.
Guys, Colin, when I was told by Tony Vargas, I have to come meet you, I didn't know what to expect. He told me, go to Colin's and you're gonna see something magnificent. In my head, I was like, okay, we've seen corals, we've seen aquaculture, we've seen crazy stuff, colors, beauty. And then I read about you. Not much, but a lot to be said. But I know that you infuse art and the beauty of those amazing corals. Now I understand what he was talking about. First of all, thank you.
I'm so glad that you were
So
36 hours in the air, and this is one of the first places
we
you
landed
come.
from the airport. Julian was the first person we met. You're the second person, and oh my God, what a trip! It's just begun, and I'm so excited.
I'm so glad that you're here. So welcome to, we call
Wow.
this the Coral Museum.
This is a museum.
We have, I mean, there's probably over 1,000 different types of coral in this space. This is the coral morphologic collection of corals that I've been building, you know, as a hobbyist for 25 years. I have corals
Wow.
that go back to the 1990s, you know, so we just need to keep building more tanks as we get more corals, as we all do.
I think we're gonna call it the coral paradise.
Yeah, let's call it the coral
Every
paradise.
piece in this place is just magical. I've seen, oh my God, like I've seen anemones, but not like that. I've seen mushrooms and like carpet anemones, not as big as those. Wow. What do you do? What's the secret recipe?
I'm here 7 days a week, 6 hours a day. And that means that I am pretty much like a coral. I'm cemented to this space, and the corals rule my life.
Wow.
I'm not happy unless the corals are happy. So, you know, right now everything is doing pretty well. So I'm pretty happy. But, you know, there are times when,
Hard times, of course.
you know, as we all go through, we're trying to figure out what's going on, what's going wrong,
The hobby takes a lot of time.
It does.
There's a lot of love. And I think a lot of people watching, even if they're hobbyists or not, the beauty that we have in our underwater world, and then we bring it out into those beautiful labs, beautiful farms, beautiful places that someone like you takes care of them. And then we look at the beauty of them and appreciate it and say, like, this is when people say, you know, the last few years we've heard people say, save our water, save the earth, save our sea, save the ocean. Now we know why.
Yeah.
There's so much beauty out there that we have to put so much heart and love and respect when we throw things in the sea, when we break corals, when we step on them, and then someone like you brings them into this place and grows them, and what we call today aquaculturing. It's a new thing.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, this is you know, when you get up close to these corals, you realize it's like they're the aliens.
Yes.
And we know so little about them. And when you see these colors, like, you can't be anything but entranced. And, you know, as both a scientist and an artist, I think that, you know, the beautiful colors of these corals helps to captivate people's attention.
Yes.
And then we can educate them about why corals are important to the planet. But when you realize, just like they're these living blacklight posters, they're cosmic,
Yes.
they're psychedelic, you know, that it's almost like they're trying to tell us something.
Of course.
And we haven't really had the technology to understand corals. I mean, when I got to the University of Miami 25 years ago, I was already growing corals in my bedroom.
Wow.
And I showed up expecting my professors to be growing corals as well, and they told me can't be done. corals can't be kept alive in tanks. We shouldn't even bother trying to do it. And this
Just
was
25 years
this was
ago,
25 years ago, right? And so to see how far things have evolved, and now you have people like Jamie Craigs who are spawning corals, and now we sort of take for granted that we can keep growing corals in aquaria, but really like there's not really a university that you can go to learn how to do this, and a lot of what's being done by the hobbyists,
By practice.
and it's the hobbyists and people like Julian Sprung who have figured out the secrets, and then they can provide the products that enable it so that the scientists and the restoration practitioners are able to grow corals to restore coral reefs. So it's like it's nice to see everything come full circle now.
Yes.
And so next door we're actually building a native coral lab where we will be growing corals native to Miami for the purpose of going back into the ocean. So everything that you see here, we have corals from all around the world. Everything in this tank is completely aquacultured. It didn't come from a coral reef. So the yellow tangs are from biota. We've got angelfish that are from Bali Aqua Rich, ORA.
Yes.
And so to see that from where I first started, almost 30 years ago, growing corals, to where we are today.
I love how
so
you
much
guys
more
have all got together. Like everyone's exchanging information, helping each other.
Yeah.
You're talking to each other, making sure that it's about the hobby.
100%.
It's not a personal thing. It's all about the hobby for the love of those corals and fish.
Yeah.
A short drive from Miami all the way here.
Yeah.
Colin, who comes to your place?
Who comes,
Who visits you?
It's you've come to visit me, and there's really not to like we're trying to turn this into the Coral Museum.
Yes.
We would like to the public to be able to come, but it's still a little small. Our dream, of course, is to expand this to have a hybrid public aquarium art museum where most public aquariums you go to, they have a huge gigantic reef tank, which is really impressive, but sometimes like it's hard, you miss the details,
The little details, of course.
and when you're really far away from the coral and you have a tank full of fish, people that aren't educated might not understand, and they miss the coral. So to be able to present the corals as living art forms, I think is very unique. Miami is a city that has lots of art museums, has a very artistic kind of it's known for art, and so it's the perfect place for a new type of way to present corals to the public. And of course, we want it to be like the head of the octopus. So we have coral museums throughout all the world. So there could be a coral museum in Dubai showcasing the local biodiversity of the corals living in the Arabian Gulf. You have some of the most climate resilient corals in the entire world because the water gets so hot there, and the corals are able to survive. So those are the things that fascinate me. Here in Miami, we have corals living right alongside the city. We have an underwater camera called the Coral City Camera. You can watch it at live streams on YouTube. And we have staghorn corals, we have elkhorn corals, we have brain corals, we have manatees and sharks and sea turtles, and it's wild to see what's just sort of living
24/7
right next to here in the city.
Wow.
And that's, so it's like I've got corals in the tanks here. I got a camera that's underwater. It's like my life is ruled by coral.
How do you manage all of this?
Yeah, well, I don't have much of a life outside of the coral, which is fun because I love everything about it.
It brings you peace being here.
Of course, yeah, and it really is like there's still so much to learn.
Of course.
So it's not like we're really just getting started.
With Reef Life Aqua, our mission was, me and Lara, to simplify the hobby.
Yeah.
It's not that easy for someone to start this hobby. You need to take it step by step. And with local fish stores, they want to sell your product, you want to take it home, but then there's so much hidden behind it.
Yeah.
Today, for beginners, top 3 tips you would tell someone who's starting this hobby. First of all, he's doing a great job starting this hobby.
Be patient, number one.
Patience.
Patience is probably the most important thing. Stability is very important, as in everything in our life. To be stable is much less stressful. But simple is often great. Like I like aquariums that when you try and put everything into an aquarium, that's when problems start.
Of course.
So sticking to a plan and having a plan, and that's why I like making our little cubes where it's like, okay, only going to be sea anemones,
and I realize,
right? Like there's
each cube.
only this type of species because corals are the first real estate developers of planet Earth. It's all about who can control that real estate, and they murder each other when they come into contact with each
Wow, I
other.
don't think of that.
Yeah, I mean, they are the first city builders of the
Earth.
planet.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you know,
of course.
they really are. You know, when it comes down to it, it's don't tread on me, and so you have to learn to respect the space around corals, and you can't put too many things all in one place.
Yes.
Because they do sting each other. They're related to jellyfish, you know,
of
so
course.
they sting like jellyfish. But having that patience, there's always room for another tank.
Always. I started with one, and I said second one,
Yeah.
and then third. And yesterday before we left, I put the fifth. I was like, more to come.
Yes.
I think it's just it brings so much peace. This hobby brings so much peace. There's so much to learn. I love that about you. If you want to pick, what was your first coral ever? Do you remember it?
So what captivated me when I was 5 years old, I went snorkeling
Oh,
for the first time on a family vacation in
okay.
Cancun, and I saw a brain coral, and
Your favorite.
it was like, okay, here's this thing. It looks like a brain and it's alive, and that's what I want to do the rest of my life.
Wow.
And so that was a total game changer for me. And then when I was 16 and I got my license, I grew up in a very remote rural area in northeastern United States. I got a car and I drove to a saltwater aquarium store, and in the all the way in the back there was a tank that had blue actinic before LEDs, so it was the blue fluorescent bulbs, and there was acanthophylias, these red acanthophylias. It was the first time that I'd ever seen a fluorescent coral, and it was like, okay, timeout. Nobody told me that these things were fluorescent, you know, like it just completely blew my mind. And I think from then on, it was like,
You got hooked.
I was already sold, but then I was really, really sold.
Your first fish.
My first fish, you know, what was my first fish?
Or your favorite fish?
You know, my first coral was the leather coral, sarcophyton, which is a great coral. I still love them. I know that my first angelfish was I guess it was lemon peel angel.
Lemon peel.
Yep. And I remember getting a shrimp goby with the pistol shrimp and the shrimp goby, the burrowing goby, also a really cool. So I actually, when I was in high school, based off of a report that I wrote in school, I got the invitation to come to the Florida Keys and go collecting marine life as a teenager.
Yeah.
And so my first tank that I set up was actually fish and marine life that I'd helped capture.
Nice.
And that was what, of course, when it was time to go to university, I knew that I wanted to come to Miami. I got a scholarship to come here. I knew, you know, I was reading magazines, and I'd read Julian's his column in all the magazines, and I knew that he lived down here. So, you know, it's now to be able to call him a friend and a mentor is like
it's an honor. And honestly,
an honor.
The time he put with us today, bringing us here, introducing us to you, he's been so patient with us. I love the guy. Honestly, he's done a great job. If you are to pick one unique coral from all your aquariums, which one would it be?
Wow. You know, I'm a big fan of the pearl bubble coral that my friend Richard gave me. He's a firefighter here in Miami, and it's from 1996. So it's one of the oldest corals that we have. You know, this is back when people were just really learning how to keep corals alive. So the fact that we have, you know, I love corals that have a story that go along with them. You know, I have corals from people that are no longer alive. You know, and so the fact that you can kind of there's a story that can be told with every coral. It keeps a memory alive. You know, corals are not only the first real estate developers of planet Earth, but they're also the first timekeepers. So, you know, not only are they keeping track of time because, you know, they're having to pay attention to the sun and the moon when they know when to spawn, but, you know, they're also, you know, there's a history behind them as well. You know, where they came from. And so, you know, that's what I love about aquarium corals. When they get names, you know, there's a lineage, you know where they came from. And so there's a human history that goes along with those corals. And I think if you were to learn one thing from a coral reef, it's symbiosis. You know, this idea of 1 + 1 can equal 3. And so, you know, for better or for worse, I feel like I'm symbiotic with these corals, which is kind of a form of codependence, which, you know, again, if the corals aren't happy, then I'm not happy. But, you know,
it gets to you.
You know,
I come back 100%. Home, and if I feel something's wrong,
yeah, sure.
I cancel my plans.
I mean, if you've invested that much time and energy into making these things happy, and they're not happy, you know, you really want to understand what's wrong and what can you do to make them better. But it's, you know, I think that collectively, by growing corals in a tank, you it's like a microcosm of planet Earth,
Yes.
and you realize that we're all in the same fishbowl together.
Wow.
Earth is an aquarium, and so if the corals are overheating and they're sick and they're dying, then you know we're in that same
Ecosystem.
fishbowl too. We
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
do
yeah.
that water change. We need
Of
to
course.
change the filters. You know, so it's like by learning on that small scale, I think it helps us understand
Of course.
kind of everything, because everything's interconnected. You know, when one parameter goes off and everything starts to spiral and go downhill in your aquarium,
Wow.
like you
I love the way you
realize
just
how
put it.
everything's interconnected.
That's really nice. Are we gonna see you in Dubai?
I would, hey, you just give me an invitation. We need to get you a camera underwater. We need you guys growing corals that are native to Dubai.
We need you and Julian to fly out, do a nice gathering. I think Lara and I are working hopefully on a Reef Life event,
Yeah.
and we want to bring everyone in so you guys can show all the love. Hopefully, you can take a few pieces there, showcasing.
That would be fantastic.
And I think it's time for the UAE to see such amazing skills, so much knowledge. Man, the first 2 visits, and I've learned so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, welcome to
It was
Miami.
my pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you so
cheers.
much, guys. The trip just started, and I can't wait for more to come. If this is how it began, I don't know what more is waiting for me. So let's see what Florida has for us. Thank you.